Hey guys, welcome to another one of the BACKPACKERGUIDE.NZ video where we take a deep dive into one of your most asked questions. And this one is really one of your most asked questions. It is about the Southern Lights. What are the best times and what are the best locations to see them? The Southern Lights are probably one of the world's best light show. It looks absolutely fantastic in the skies, but it only appears with like 30-minute notice and it is pretty hard to basically catch. So only a few of the lucky ones will be able to see them, but with a few of our tips, I think, we can give you a bit of an edge.
Yeah, so most of you have probably heard of the Northern Lights, but there actually are some Southern Lights that exist, and you can only really see them in a few selected countries, including New Zealand, Argentina, Chile, Antarctica, and Australia. So with these tips and with the right conditions, you can see the Southern Lights for yourself, but it really does need to be the very right conditions. So we'll go through what those conditions are in this video.
Alright, so let's get started with what is an Aurora Australis. So the Aurora Australis is the Southern Lights. Now, there is a lot of scientific talk, so I took some notes and I'm going to read from that, and basically I'm going to read the scientific stuff and then I'm going to dumb it down. Alright, so auroras are let's start again. Aurora are electrically charged particles from solar winds that enter the Earth's atmospheres and react with its gases. So that's the gases of the Earth's atmospheres. Now the solar winds, which I just mentioned, they are part of the space weather, which is happening around the Earth, and that's really not something that we usually track very much. It's basically a really big stream of energized particles and electromagnetic radiation which are emitted from the sun. Those particles are blown around space at very, 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 very high speed and very high temperatures as well. And they basically enter and collide with the atmospheres. Now, the magnetospheres, which is one of the layers of the atmosphere, is what protects us from those really high temperature and high velocity winds usually. But sometimes some particles basically just enter the atmospheres, and when they enter the atmosphere, those particles react with the gases within the atmosphere and create those pretty lights. That's basically what the Aurora Australis are, and they are, in short, for us, petty humans, they are really pretty light in the skies. The different colors that you'll be able to see, so they range from sometimes kind of bluish, green, turquoise, they go for some kind of yellows, some kind of red and pinkish, and the different kind of colors that happen depends on what kind of gases and what kind of particles have entered the atmosphere. So it's a really big combination, and the color is usually absolutely not predictable whatsoever. The Southern Lights themselves are sometimes a little bit predictable, and we go through that so you know when to see them, but the colors, no.
Yeah. So let's move on to when are the best times to actually see the Southern Lights. And like Robin was saying, they're a little bit unpredictable. Usually you only get about 30 minutes notice if there is going to be a solar storm that happens. But usually there's times of the years where they do occur a little bit more frequently. So the best time of year to actually look out for the Southern Lights is during winter, which in New Zealand is between the end of March towards the beginning of September. So that's the best time to keep an eye on the forecasts for the Southern Lights. But actually talking about the forecast, you want to talk a little bit?
I just want to say that the other time as well is around midnight, because we need the sun to be as further as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Well. So again, it's winter around midnight. So that's when we start.
Yeah.
Winter around midnight. What about the forecast?
Yeah, so for the forecast, there are a few websites where you can actually keep an eye on what the forecasts are going to be for the Southern Lights and the electromagnetic activity that's going on. And this is usually measured in kp, which goes from 0 to 9, 0 being the weakest and basically you're not going to see any pretty lights in the sky, to 9, which is where it's going to be the strongest, and 5 in the middle is the number that you need to look out for, and this is basically where you're going to see something, 5 and above.
Yeah. So basically you go on some of those websites, we're going to link to a few down below, and you'll be able to just see what is the prediction for the strength, and if it's 5 and above, then it's worth for you to actually just get into looking for those kind of things. There are also some massive solar events, like some really high like solar cycle with massive amount of events that will create therefore much more auroras and much stronger auroras, like super bright ones. But they only happen about like every 11 years, so we're not going to focus too much on that because that's just too much of an over planning.
Apparently the last one was in around 2013, was it?
So with 11 years, 2024, we should be ready for that. So if you guys are watching this video in 2023 and are planning your trip next year, you are in luck. Otherwise, well, you still have a few shot more, but keep watching. So yeah. Alright, so now we're going to be talking a little bit about the perfect conditions that you need to have to be able to see the southern lights. Now the first thing that I want to mention is that you need no light pollution whatsoever, because the southern lights very often they're going to be much more faint than really bright stars in the skies. So for that reason, you want to be as far as possible from cities and towns. That's definitely the number one step. This is why most of the observatory around New Zealand are, well, high up in the mountains, just because, well, there is less light pollution around. The second thing is that, well, since this happens from the South Pole, well, the southern in New Zealand, you'll be usually the more chances, or the brighter you're going to be able to see the aurora, actually, not the more chances, but the brighter you'll be able to see it, so the more chances you will have to notice it yourself. So we're talking about places down on the South Island, and even on Stewart Island. But around the end of this video, we're actually going to be listing like about 5 places that we think is where you should head to see the southern lights, so keep watching for that. The other condition that you need to have is no natural light pollution either. So one of the problems with New Zealand bright skies is that, well, usually you have some wonderful, absolutely amazing views of the moon. Now if the moon is shining at its brightest, you will see nothing, so you won't be able to see the southern light at all. So you want to time your viewing of the southern light with the dimmest moon that you can have. So like basically when there is either like a tiny crescent or nothing, that'd be best as well. It's a pretty obvious one, but obviously you want clear skies. If there are clouds, the clouds are going to be much lower than what the southern lights are, and at that point you will be able to see nothing. So in conclusion, I'm just going to recap all of them. You want strong solar activities that we just mentioned before, so we want KP5 and above. We want clear winter nights, let's go with that, a clear winter night. We want to stay away from any of the light pollutions. We want the moon at its darkest, and well, it's not that much to ask, right? Yeah,
I mean, that's not much.
Alright, let's keep going. Where in New Zealand can you see the southern lights? So that's the thing that a lot of people ask as well.
Yeah, so obviously like Robin said, you need to go as far south as possible to get the best chances of seeing basically the best views of the southern lights. So also with that in mind, you want to go somewhere where it's not as polluted with like light pollution. So Stewart Island is a really good place to go. This is pretty much as far south as most people go in New Zealand, and because about 80% of the island is national park, that means that there's not many towns or lights from, street lights and stuff that's going to get in the way of your southern lights viewing. So that is a really awesome place to go and check out the southern lights when they are active.
Yeah. So Stewart Island, I'm just going to butt in right here. So Stewart Island is like New Zealand's 3rd largest island. It's all the way at the bottom of the South Island, and you access it through the little town called Bluff.
Yeah, and you need to take a ferry to get there.
Yeah.
Alright, so another really good place to go check out the southern lights is in New Zealand's International Dark Sky Reserve, which covers the Aoraki Mount Cook area and Lake Tekapo. So again, this is in the southern part of the South Island. And yeah, here it's known for having some of the darkest skies in the world because there's not really that many towns around, there's not much light pollution, it's very mountainous, so there's a lot of opportunity to get high up in the mountains and check out the southern lights from there. And yeah, with all that combined, that's pretty much a perfect place to check out the southern lights while in New Zealand.
Is that good of a place? Actually, they have a world famous observatory over there around Lake Tekapo. You can do some visit over there, and it's St. John
No,
Yeah.
not St. John.
No.
Mount John
Mount John.
Observatory.
Sorry about that. Mount John Observatory. It's really, it's a really cool tour, and we actually did that during New Zealand's biggest gap year. So if you want to see our take of that tour, you can check out the video. We really did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Another place?
Another place, we'll go for the Catlins, which is again right on the southern coast of the South Island. And again, this doesn't have that many towns around, so it's really good to see the southern lights on the horizon if you're on the coast. And again, not many light pollution around. And yeah,
That's pretty much
that's
it.
pretty much it for the
All right.
Catlins.
Yeah, so now just one thing that happens quite often is that people see pictures of the Southern Lights, which I've been showing during this video, and they are sometimes surprised that that's not necessarily what they see as well. So because you can do some really awesome things with photography, like, you know, slow shutter speed and those kind of things, you can get much more light and much more color through that. So we do have an article on BACKPACKERGUIDE.NZ on how to photograph best the Southern Light, which is really interesting if you want to give it a shot yourself. But don't be too surprised, sometimes you just see a few lights in the sky, and that's pretty much it. It doesn't look as bright and as crazy as you see on pictures.
Yeah.
But before we let you go, we are going to be recapping everything, like kind of a bit of a checklist for you guys, just so you can kind of write everything down, because I know we went a bit in length through everything. Alright, so if you want to see the Southern Lights in New Zealand, here's what you want. You want strong solar activities. You can check the forecast for that, and you want a KP of 5 or above. You need to go to the south of New Zealand. We just mentioned some places, but you know, kind of find something which is rather south if you want to see them more. You want some clear sky, no covers, no clouds, and that's sometimes pretty hard to find on the land of the long white cloud, which is the nickname of New Zealand. You want almost no artificial light, so you want to get away from most of the cities, and you want to turn on your own head torch. You want limited moonlight as well, so just make sure that the moon is at its darkest. If possible, if you get high, you know, from mountain and hills, you're gonna have a much better viewing experience. It's usually late at night, or you know, around midnight onward. That's usually when it is, and also in winter, which runs from the end of March to September in New Zealand. This should be your perfect checklist to check out the Southern Lights, also known as Aurora Australis. Laura, have you seen the Southern Lights before?
I actually haven't seen the Southern
No.
Lights. I try, but you know, with all those conditions are pretty hard to meet, so...
Yeah, so we've been in New Zealand for quite a long time now, and none of us actually have successfully been able to see the Southern Light despite trying really often.
Yeah.
So don't be too disheartened if you're not seeing it. If you go to some of those dark sky reserves, you'll be able to see some amazing starry skies. You'll be able to see the Milky Way with your own eyes. It's quite amazing. So you'll still have an amazing stargazing experience, even if there is no Southern Lights.
Yeah.
Anyway, there is much more information about any of that on BACKPACKERGUIDE.NZ, so make sure to check out the website. And if you did find this video useful, make sure to like, subscribe, and if you do have some questions of your own that you want us to dive deep into, make sure to leave us a comment below. And if you have seen the Southern Light yourself, just brag about it and put it in a comment below and give us a link to your Instagram account. We want to see those pictures.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching.
See you later.